Don't be a cut up.
No, you ready?
All right, we're rolling.
Ready.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the SoCal Car Scene Podcast, the place for all sorts of car news, whether that be the automotive industry or racing or anything in between, especially about SoCal car culture and the personalities that drive it. I'm Jason Marash, and I'm here with my father and co-host, Dean Marash. Say hi, Dad.
Hey, everybody.
It's
Great
good
to be
see
back
y'all.
with you. Yeah, it's great. It's great. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a really great show for you. We're going to talk about tariffs.
Ooh.
Not that we always talk about
Scary.
business and economics on the show.
Very
all the
scary,
time.
Jay. Tariffs.
Then we're going to talk about the Slate auto truck. Talk
you're
about
good.
our experiences at recent car shows and also about the Long Beach Grand Prix and some new EV battery technologies that are occurring here. So it's going to be a really exciting show.
What a great lineup.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
But before we get to that, we want to let you know that this show is sponsored by our parent company, SoCal Classic Car Storage. You can visit us at SoCalCarStorage.com to find out all about our great concierge car services. Come and see why that we are the best in Southern California at car storage, caring for premium customer cars and providing the best customer service there is. So go ahead and check us out again at SoCalCarStorage.com. Along with that, you can also check out merch. So, Dad, show everybody the hat you got going on here.
Exhibit A.
This is one of the hats that we have that is for sale on our website, SoCalCarStorage.com. Just click on the merchandise tab at the top of the website, and that'll take you to our Shopify store. Or come visit us at one of our car shows. Our next car show is going to be, which we'll talk about. We're going to be at the San Clemente Car Show.
Downtown.
On
What a
May
great
31st.
venue.
So
Great
come
venue.
check us out. And also we'll be at Dana Point too. So we'll talk about that on a later show. But just letting you know that we got plenty of merch.
And we got some
great
new
t-shirts.
merch coming.
And
So, tell them about the new merch, Jay.
well, no, I think it's still a little bit of surprise.
All right,
We haven't got time.
We'll surprise them.
We haven't produced those yet. So we are making new shirts. So be on the lookout for
NDA.
those. Okay. So let's get to the show right away. Everybody, well, April, Trump started off with his Liberation Day, April 2nd.
Do you think that was like an April Fool's Day joke? What the hell? Was there? Is that a coincidence?
Well, there was no fooling around. Everything freaked out from my stock market portfolio and your portfolio and everyone else's 401k. So it was a really big day. But yeah, they didn't do it on April Fool's Day, and probably a good thing. But
hey, I
afterwards, it was a pretty
Kel
big deal.
did Kel sell his Bitcoin as a result of that? I don't even.
No, but I think he bought more like degenerate coins.
Oh, degenerate coin.
Yeah, or what they call.
What do you call it?
Well, it's a family show, so it
talk
starts
about
with an S and rhymes with hit.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, those are called hit coins.
Hit coins.
Hit coins,
Yeah,
you know.
boy.
So yeah, so he probably went out and bought more of that, buy the dip. That's always his favorite things.
It's nice to be rich like Kel. I don't even know why we pay him a salary.
Yeah, well, everything is always a buying opportunity or a gambling opportunity for degenerates like myself.
point.
So, it's one man's financial calamity is another man's opportunity.
So you and I, Jay, had a great conversation about tariffs and oligarchs, and we boiled the ocean today. But what do you think in the end this is all about as it relates to the car industry? If we just pick the car industry out as a segment, it's a big part of this tariff thing, right? I mean, cars mean a lot. We think of the Rust Belt. We think of the glamour days of the United States when Detroit was the richest city in the country.
Yes.
And the Rust Belt. There's a lot of romance to that period. We employed the middle class was what the United States was all about. So what's the intent of tariffs that Trump's trying to accomplish when it comes to the automobile industry?
Well, you wrote a really good article about that. The idea is to reshore American manufacturing. At least that's your running hypothesis.
Right.
Is to get American companies like GM, Ford, Stellantis, right, to bring back manufacturing back here to the United States, and to also onshore foreign businesses that have big markets here,
such as Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, what have you. So that's always been your hypothesis. You wrote that article about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and
We'll publish that on our website. That was actually for our newsletter, but I think that's worthy of publishing back on our website. Now, given about a month of these tariffs now, do you still believe that that's a solid hypothesis, the reshoring of American manufacturing for the car industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. I haven't changed my mind. I think what we're going to see out of a lot of these deals, and we haven't really formalized one. The only one that we've seen a deal on is with your Ukraine and the minerals deal, and that's for a peace deal. But I think everything isn't what it seems, and all of this tariff stuff, because we thought, well, here's a new president. We got a war in Ukraine. The Russians are attacking. So wouldn't it make sense to stop the war? Well, what's the first thing that happens? Our president goes in and strikes a deal for rare earth minerals so that we can mine them. And why would we want to do that? Well, because China mines them. They probably produce 80 to 90%. So the president's thinking, here's an opportunity to not be at their beck and call.
right.
The Chinese beck and call for our phones, our chips, and all the other technology. So again, I think it's non-traditional negotiation to accomplish what's good for the country, not necessarily what we're talking about. We're talking about tariffs. I think in the end, it's about manufacturing and bringing back the middle class. So I still think that's a valid point.
And that's about, well, it's both-sided, right? It's consumer side
Correct.
and manufacturing side, so creating American jobs, which is really important. In fact, you could even say that Detroit really built the middle class in the middle of the 20th century.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was the oil barons for a while, right? Then it was the railroad barons, in the turn of the century. And then all of a sudden, it was automotive manufacturing. It started with Henry Ford. And that really changed the prospects for America for good for a long time. And so we kind of got, if we're smart, we've got to rebuild the middle class that's really been knocked out by basically offshoring all our jobs because the labor's cheaper. And the tariffs are so high, they're not going to buy our stuff. So all the United States has become is one big sucking sound of demand. So, we're the buyers in the world, but everybody else is the sellers. And so I think what we're trying to do...
Well, they sell our own product right back to us, right? So
pretty much that too.
They go and build it in somewhere else, and then they sell it right
Back here in America for even on an inflated price that has a tariff on it.
Like even a 3-4% tariff that's on it because it came from another country.
Well, you were tripping out today, and I thought it was insightful on the complexity of the American car manufacturing process and how many times they go in and out of this country. It almost seems somewhat irrational.
Well, that's causing the complication, right? And that's it seems that Trump is making a lot of exceptions because there's so much of a huge logistical nightmare. Think about really, Ford does this too, but in a smaller scale, but GM and Stellantis, they will, send a car back over the border, both ways, 6-8 times to complete a car?
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Wire harness could be done in another
Because
country.
the part and the raw materials needed to make that part
Or over in Mexico, or over in Canada.
Well, maybe the factory somewhere else that specializes in that stuff, the transmission and the drivetrain, and then there's the installation or the interior. So these cars are moving around, their supply chain's moving around, and so I think on one could be critical of Trump not understanding how complicated the supply chain process is for building a car.
Whatever industry, right?
Well, maybe all industries are this complicated, and we're looking at this one. But I honestly think what we're going to see in the end is a lot more British cars, whether that's Bentleys, German cars, whether that's Porsches or BMWs, and cars from all over the world being built here. Maybe the exception might be the Chinese. Maybe we still won't see electric Chinese cars being built here. We'll pause. I know we got to cover that in a little bit.
But I know that Well, Honda has made commitments to
Yeah.
build here. You've seen Mercedes,
Yeah.
to
Toyota.
build, making some commitments to take their factories out of Mexico
Yeah.
and to build in places like Indiana or some type of Midwest state in order to have those jobs, but also to just appease Trump
and to get around those tariffs.
Yeah. So I really think that by building stuff here, we didn't change the demand for American products that much. But what we've done is it's the equivalent of. Does that make sense? It's kind of the equivalent of, because these cars, even though they're not American cars, they're built here, right? So we get the benefit of taxes, the tax base, putting people to work, living wages,
Sure.
which has really been the complaint of a lot of people in your generation and earlier generations. Hey, I can't afford to live.
Yeah.
But what if I make them 35, 40 bucks an hour and I'm running a robot that builds a Toyota here in America, and then there's demand for Toyotas? Do I really care if it's an American car? Maybe not. Maybe that's irrelevant. Maybe it's academic. So if that happens, I think it'd be a good thing.
I think so too. It's about, at least from, I would say, a political perspective or perspective of my generation, is all these car companies, they're making good money, but it's not really staying in America. And like all these corporations, they'll go outsource it and
share the wealth with the other countries that are there. But like, wait, aren't these like American companies? And don't my taxpayer dollars subsidize some of these companies and everything like that? So it's just like, well, where is the wealth
being built?
And I think it's important to bring the bill, to bring back that wealth within the United States. And so we need to create new frameworks around all of these, especially in the auto industry. And this is going to take a lot more time. I think what Trump did, and that's the key thing that we got to remember, is all this is going to take a lot of time.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And that actually works for Trump, and it also works against him as well. Because even then those changes may take longer than his current administration.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes
4
a long
years,
time.
like 4 years,
long time
move the entire
to build a
supply chain.
factory, to tool it, to get the factory going. But the nice thing about all that is that's generational change.
Yeah.
And the next president won't be able to stop that because it won't be a political issue. So that's the best part of it. I think what we're talking about, Jay, we need a slogan, right? It used to be made in America, right? Not, or, American made or America. This is just, we don't care if it's got an American label on it anymore, as long as it was manufactured here. So we got to do some marketing on this, right? Or somebody should.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing to understand, at least when you peer through the news media that
tells you that the sky is falling, but the sky hasn't fallen. My stock
portfolio is recovered. I'm actually profitable in the year now.
Yeah, so is mine.
That's it wasn't really that bad. Buy the dip, and of course a lot of different changes are happening, but this will overall be a good thing for the American middle class and a really good thing for the auto industry as a whole, because I think that when you bring it back here, quality goes up.
Yep.
And because quality goes up, it makes it a better product, safer product, and a whole better product for the consumer.
Yeah.
And that's important. But kind of shifting gears a little bit into tariffs and all that different stuff. China is the thing that we haven't talked about, and China is the
China.
elephant in the big elephant in the room, right?
China.
Yeah, China. Go ask China. Their company BYD, is taking over the global electric vehicle market.
Well, that's true, because I don't know if you guys remember, but I know Jay does. They asked Elon Musk, who's his biggest competitor at Tesla, and he said, "Well, that's easy. It's the Chinese.
Yeah, it's
Chinese. BYD."
Well, the Chinese have filled in a gap. They've almost created a demand, right? Because the demand for electric vehicles was subsidized by the government, right?
Sure.
So it's like, hey, buy these electric vehicles. save the planet, the green environmental agenda, kind of driven those things, but now that's kind of phased out. I think what makes BYD so successful is that they've created an electric car that's quality, but also very inexpensive.
Well, you know what I equate it to, Jay? That's a great point. I equate it to the VW. I know people don't want to talk about the origins of the VW, but the idea
behind the VW bus or the
VW
like the
Bug
Beetle?
itself was built for the common man. It was their Model T.
Right.
Every person who was working could afford one, right? That was the intent.
Yeah.
And so they accomplished that. And so I think that's what's great about what they've done in China with these electric vehicles. The working man, the middle class, can't afford one. Remember when these cars came out here and everybody was trying to compete with Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Rivian and Lucid and all these other companies that launched. We're all saying, how the hell does the average guy afford a $60,000, $70,000 electric car? Well, the
clear
answer is
they don't.
the answer is they didn't, unless you live in Orange County like we do, or some wealthy area where people are making $150,000,
Sure.
$200,000.
Electric vehicles almost became like status symbols,
Right.
kind of like what hybrid cars used to be
Right.
back in the day.
And the really sad truth about most of those cars, they've depreciated so rapidly, the bottom's fallen out of them. So people went out and spent $75,000, $80,000 on an electric car. Now it's worth $35,000.
And
4 or
you can't
5 years.
even resell it.
And you
Teslas
can't resell
have
it.
no resale.
So while everybody was trying to compete with Tesla for this expensive electric car, guess what? These guys are sitting around doing what everybody else was ignoring, the cost-effective electric solution.
Right. Probably on stolen IP, but that's a whole other story at another time.
That's a rumor.
But they took the IP and made it for cheaper and completely undercut the market because
Well, you say stolen IP, I might argue, Elon does all of his stuff open source. He says his whole Tesla is open source. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's his claim. But yeah.
Well,
we don't. I don't know
how much that is, but
what BYD does what every other car company refused to do, which is make a consumer quality EV. And people aren't generally interested in EVs.
Well, it's not just selling in China, right?
Well, for the
Selling,
right price.
isn't it selling all over the world?
well, see, that's
knocking out.
That's how it relates to the tariff conversation is we are smart to tariff China, especially to keep BYD out of the market because, well, as we've seen in Europe and Australia, and especially Europe, BYD is taking over.
Yes, it is.
They are taking over. And all these European EV makers are starting to
Get smart.
lose money.
Yeah, they're getting.
We had, and you can see this on the article that I wrote about BYD and Slate.
That's a great article, by the way.
We're gonna talk about. Yeah, go to the SoCalCarStorage.com.
Read that article.
/media, and you can read that article.
Yep.
But we had, and we talked about this on the last episode, where Audi closed its plant, its Brussels plant for its electric vehicles, and then huge multi-billion-dollar startup in Switzerland, Northvolt, filed for bankruptcy in March.
Well, how close is Lucid to going bankrupt?
Yep. Well, what's the stock worth now? Like $5?
No, I don't even know. Maybe
What was
less.
the IPO? 120?
Something like that. Rivian is really down. So I think in the end.
No, that's what I meant. Rivian, yeah. Like Rivian, yeah, Rivian. What's the stock price of that now? Like 10? I don't know. Here, let me look it up.
Lucid's under $2. But my thinking is, to car companies, it's a very expensive proposition. You're talking about a 10 to 15 year return on investment before you start being profitable. I mean, how long ago was it when Tesla started being profitable? I think we're only talking the last 4 or 5 years. He's been around for what? Almost 20 now?
yeah. Well, I mean, look at the stock price. Look at what he's done.
Sure, but he's got the deepest pockets in the world, right?
Yep. He had a lot of great backers, and I think that's ultimately the problem, right? Is the price. The price for this technology is too high, and that's where BYD has totally won on price.
I think price is maybe one of the biggest, if not the biggest, but I'd also say infrastructure. Here in America, our infrastructure for these vehicles sucks. You can get stuck in a line for hours trying to get your car charged just to go over to the South Coast Plaza Mall and shop at Nordstrom.
Well, it seems like BYD has. Well, you bring up Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen. Well, Volkswagen was developed during the beginning, kind of
before World War II.
Well, yeah, it was basically, it became kind of, it was the national car of the Nazi Empire.
Oh, for
right?
sure, it was.
So
well, Hitler designed that thing to go into a military environment with no water, high gas mileage. He was smart enough to design it so that it could actually go over rough terrain.
But Ferdinand Porsche developed the Volkswagen Bug, right, as like the people's car, right, the Volt, right?
Yep. And so I think that maybe what China has done has created actually
the people's car.
Its civilization
as the people's car,
Correct.
the BYD electric system. So it's almost like they restarted their whole entire infrastructure based off of these BYD cars.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said about it, politics aside, right?
Okay, like I'm not going to support dictatorships or communism or anything, far from it. But there is something to be said where it was like, wow, they've created this entire infrastructure.
And that is ultimately the problem in the United States.
Right? There's no infrastructure for it.
Well, look,
it's expensive to build chargers in your garage.
Yeah.
It's, you have to wait an hour.
Look, we can't even build a high-speed fucking train. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
We've spent, $70-80 billion, and we don't have a mile of track in California, right?
Yeah, right.
I remember voting for that 15 years
me
ago.
too, but government was well-intentioned to want to be like Tokyo or want to be like Europe. But guess what? Here in the United States, we don't seem to be able to get out of our own way when it comes to money in and getting stuff done in the government.
Yeah, how many electric stations did the Biden administration build?
3.
8.
I don't know, 3.
Less than 10.
They promised thousands.
And they spent how many billions? 8 billion, something like that, and we got no chargers out of that.
Oh my God.
That's ridiculous.
Sorry to get you guys riled up. It gets me riled up.
Yeah.
But Jay,
this doesn't end up being a political show, but I think that's the beauty of automobiles, is that automobiles are really, they are kind of really emotionally connected to the people that drive them. And so it's like we all drive cars in America.
Oh, for sure.
So it's the way that we get around. So they are an extension of ourselves. So in some ways, cars are politics as much as people are.
Well, that's why Kiel rolls large in a Mercedes-Benz. It's an extension of him, and he's trying to convey, wealth.
Yeah, another stereotypical Filipino into his Mercedes.
Oh, no, that's a good point.
That's okay.
I'm very materialistic as a Filipino myself.
Hey, so
it's all about the brands.
So let's pivot away from Kiel for a minute and his wealth.
Poor Kiel.
And
he's not on camera. He's behind the camera,
so we can make fun of him.
And his obscene wealth. That's a whole nother podcast. But do you think...
He's probably thinking about his Rolex somewhere.
Do you think that BYD, if BYD was heavily influenced by Ferdinand Porsche and Germany building a people's car, and they basically replicated that model for different reasons, but it's the electric car for the people. Right. Is it possible that Mr. Bezos is doing the same thing with the Slate, and he's being heavily influenced by BYD in China, saying, wait a minute, who's doing that in America? If we're not going to let BYD in here, let's do this ourselves and deliver the people's electric car or truck in America.
Yeah, and so that seems to be the case with the Slate Auto truck. That has been all over the automotive news lately, and it's taken the social media by storm with the claims that they can give you an electric pickup truck for $20,000 or less after federal subsidies, and that is a game changer. We talk about how things are not affordable, but how rare is it to see any car below a $25,000
below
price
40.
Yeah, it almost seems
What do
like
you got to pay for a Honda now?
yeah,
35?
35, 36.
Yeah.
I remember I paid for my Ford Fusion plug-in hybrid for
28.5.
Those
But
were the
that
old
ended
days.
up being like 33 after taxes.
Yeah, but
and
that
all
was 6 or
good
7
stuff.
years ago. How long
Yeah,
ago?
that was back in 2020, so 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's no such thing as a car for 20,000 or less.
I really think that if middle class has been wiped out, we talked about that during our tariff piece. If the middle class of America has been wiped out because we've offshored most of this manufacturing, right? And people are stuck in low paying service jobs. That's my theory of what's happened to the middle class. Most of them are working at jobs that they don't enjoy, and they're not making the kind of money they did or their fathers and mothers did. So they're stuck in these service jobs. But if that's the case, then they could now potentially afford Slate. Now, granted, they're coming out with an SUV and a truck, but wouldn't that be great to get back to that Model T idea of the working man being able to afford a vehicle? Because in California, no working man can afford a vehicle. Right?
Yeah, no
You
one
couldn't afford that.
No one here in Orange County is basically here. But what is it? The average car payment's like
$600.
for the average
Oh,
American.
I bet it's 7.
Yeah, so it's that. I mean, that adds up. That's usually what people paid for rent like 20 years ago.
So what what enables this? Okay, SoCal Classic has made a commitment to buying one of these. We put a deposit down. We're going to just get the truck version, not the.
What was your question?
Well, the question is what has enabled this manufacturer, Jeff Bezos and his team,
Slate
to come out
Auto.
with something so inexpensive? I think I know what the answer is. I think you know too.
Well, it's the bare bones, right?
Stripped down.
Strip it down. There's no infotainment system, no touchscreen,
No
you
stereo.
got cranked windows,
Yeah, cranked windows.
analog air
Dials.
conditioning control.
Yeah.
Your
Hey, does that?
your phone is your infotainment system. It gives you the option to plug in.
Does it come with an air conditioner, or is that an upgrade? Do you know?
No, it does come with an air conditioner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it strips it all the way down.
To the bare bones.
Yeah, which is only what you need.
Well, so that's a key
So
question.
it's a car for what you need, not what you want.
So I remember the
And
day.
that's really good.
It's probably in the 80s and 90s. You could buy stripped down cars. I don't know if you remember that, but you didn't buy the upgraded packages, and so your car didn't have electric windows. It didn't have air conditioning. It didn't have a stereo. But then there's this creep that's happened now into the 2020s where everybody expects big screens, Bluetooth, GPS, blah blah blah, power everything.
So much luxury. It's a
Yeah.
it's a gluttony of luxury.
No wonder why the cars have gone up so much. So maybe if you strip all that shit, out, now you could take $20,000 out of a car. Is this how it's possible? Or,
I think so.
Or is it a pipe dream on Bezos' part and he has no idea?
Well,
Did we just insult him?
no, I don't think it's a pipe dream at all. I think I'm actually quite excited about it. I think as you can go in that article,
Once again, SoCalCarStorage.com/media. You can go see the article that I've written about this. And I really think that this is really the American answer to
BYD.
I do too.
Making the affordable electric car, right? And that is so important, right? The government has been so focused on
subsidizing the electric car to make it more affordable. But what happens, one of the basic things that what we know is that whenever the government always subsidizes something,
companies always raise the price.
And then
because-
also, if they're subsidizing, doesn't it usually mean we don't want it?
yeah, exactly.
forcing
so
us to
you're
buy
you're
something?
forcing the demand.
and so
The demand will be high. The demand will be high if
'Cause
the
it's cheap.
price point
That's right.
is correct,
Yeah.
right?
Here's the
So-
other thing that's really cool, folks.
And you get a lot of utility. I mean, value is still. You know what? When it comes to business and economics, I'm a value guy all the way. How do I create the most value for the least amount as possible, right? And I think that's simple, basic business fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if Bezos can create like a really good value based off what
I've just read, it can be a game changer in the American automotive industry.
Absolutely. So the other cool thing, and I think maybe even just as cool, is where it's made. It's made in the Rust Belt by American hands in the Rust Belt in
Indiana, I think.
Indiana.
Yep.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah, I
Michigan
think
or
so. Or Ohio.
Yeah.
One of those.
Anyway, so that's the great news, right? Midwest, made by American hands, made in American factories, and it's an innovative. I really think it's going to change a lot of things. It begs a question: does everybody need all this luxury and feature-rich experience when they drive their car? Guess where were we heading with these electric cars? Self-driving, self-adjusting, keep you out of the lane, collision avoidance, blah 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 blah.
Sounds like luxury items.
I drive my new Jeep. I can't do anything wrong without it
Yeah.
grabbing the wheel and jerking me back into compliance. And some of that's good, but it's like Big Brother.
But it does force you to ask, like, is this all really necessary?
Yes. So now we're kind of going back to the old school 70s, bare bones.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be loud.
Well, maybe
there's no
you know what?
insulation.
Maybe it's good because then that way you can kind of
Feel the
get
road.
off the grid. You get off the grid, right? People who are like, oh, that might be like some Minority Report, type of nightmare scenario. Remember where the self-driving cars,
Yeah.
but then they could be overtaken by the police?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that really helps. So yeah,
It's a really good question of what do we really need in a car? And also, it kind of even
begs the question of like, do we need an electric car for everything?
like, do I need an electric Porsche, an electric BMW? Let's put it together. Maybe electric
Cars at a consumer level are actually quite good, but a luxury electric vehicle,
why? Why do we even need that? Like that's if I was gonna go pay, close to 6 figures for a car, I'd rather have, the best performance that I can have.
Can I answer that question honestly without pissing people off?
And maybe it's just a status symbol.
Well, that's the answer.
Yeah.
It's a freaking status symbol. It says, "Hey, I support
Hey,
the
I support
environment.
so and so agenda.
I'm trying to keep my carbon emissions down.
So is it more
I'm
like,
managing my
so could it
carbon
necessarily be like a more left-wing status symbol? Is that what that
whatever.
is?
And then you're driving around in
Yeah.
the status symbol, and the next thing you know, for political reasons, they're busy scratching your car and burning it down when you take it to the dealership.
Sure.
Now that's backfired. Now the status symbol has become the target of people's ires.
Sure.
How ironic is that?
Yeah,
That they
it's-
went out and spent all that freaking money for a luxury, go-fast electric golf cart, and then people want to damage their shit. So anyway, I guess we don't really know what people's motivations are necessarily.
No. But people can be motivated if the price and the value is right.
Listen,
and
okay.
I think what
Let's
would
talk
you-
about. Oh, no, I was just going to suggest we talk about why we're getting one here at SoCal
Yeah,
Classic.
well, that's what I was getting to
Okay.
actually was, well, what's the differentiator of Slate Auto is the customization.
That's
Because
really
we're
cool.
forgetting about that, right? So the value is not only getting the technological bang for your buck, but you're also getting the customization aspect. So you can customize it to the point where that thing becomes an SUV. You can put wraps not only around the body, but you can
don't
put
they
wraps
wrap it
around the
for you?
wheel.
Don't they
Yeah,
wrap
they'll
it?
wrap it for you, and you can customize it with your own logo.
You can set up your logo, and they'll put that into
Mm-hmm.
the wrap, right?
Yeah, there was like 50, what is it, like 25, 30 different looks that I saw on the auto website, and you can make it look like an 80s pickup truck, or you can make it look like a Jeep.
So I think that's all really cool.
know.
So it really is attractive from the business perspective as a business vehicle. The other thing that I'm thinking about, we have a golf cart like a lot of businesses do, or some kind of,
That's
this
why
is-
we're so fat, because we're lazy.
Yeah. We're
We're working on it. Animal-based diet, check it
We're
out.
hitting the gym.
Paul Saladino, shout out.
Just eat meat. That's all we recommend. But anyway, so I view it as we've got a golf cart, right, that serves a business and runs around between the buildings. This is one level above the golf cart. That golf cart is awesome. We've used the hell out of that thing for 5 years and gotten so much use out of it. Now we're talking about an electric golf cart with a lot of utility because we got a bed in it, right? So we can go to Home Depot. We can do all these runs. I could get rid of my SUV now for the business. I can go back to a passenger car and we can just use this
Yeah, and we just beat the hell
utility
out of
golf
it.
cart.
Yeah. For sure. And as a baseball coach, that works out really well for me
Yeah.
too, because
All you
that's all I
coaches.
really need. That's all I really need. I just need some pickup truck room to put all my gear in, and to car I can get a little bit dirty and not worry about the resale value. And
Hey, why don't we go into the business of making the bed protectors right now?
Oh,
for
yeah.
Slate? What are we waiting
well,
for?
probably
Jack?
WeatherTech's already beating us too.
You
dude.
think?
Yeah. Shout out to WeatherTech. We love WeatherTech.
Yeah, we do love WeatherTech.
They really do. Give us
C-Tech battery.
Give us free stuff, please.
Thank you. So I'm excited because it's like a new toy, but I really think it fills a tremendous void of a car for people that can't afford a $600 payment a month. It's
But they're
ridiculous.
not stuck with a boring car if they don't want one.
Right.
That's cool.
And who doesn't want one?
Yeah.
All
That'd
the
be
cool-
really cool.
All the cool kids are going to have one. You better line up.
The Slate car is expected to come out in 2026.
Late
so
2026.
yeah, so keep listening to the podcast for a whole year, and we'll review one for you.
No, wait
So-
a minute. We're going to go through the buying process, so we're going to keep you guys apprised of what
Yeah.
the buying experience is like, what the ordering process is like, and then we'll shake
Yeah,
it
we'll
down.
bore you with all the details, and
That's right.
yeah, maybe take a video of the negotiation. My dad is a
Terrible negotiation.
he's a fun negotiator. That guy, he's pretty stubborn. Well, we're kind of getting towards the middle of this episode,
Yeah.
and so I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit. Well, more or less, like talking about electric vehicles. We learned about this new trend that is happening. Stellantis is developing what are known as solid state batteries. So like basically the nodes of the batteries are now connected together, right? So making a solid state. And what's really cool about these is it cuts the weight in half. So
Staggering.
right, because how much does an electric vehicle battery weigh right now?
I don't know, but an electric car typically weighs 5,000 pounds
Yeah.
or more. Somewhere in
So,
there.
I mean, if you can cut the weight in
It's
half.
1,000 to 1,500 pounds more than a regular passenger car, I think.
Right.
Don't
So
quote
you
me.
can cut the weight in half, and then some have reported that the solid state batteries, they can even cut charging times in half as well.
Wow,
So
that's
moving
huge.
from like an hour to 20 minutes to a half an hour. You talk about infrastructure,
Yeah.
right? That could be the huge thing that changes it, is you can become more efficient as the battery is less, so you use less power to get the same amount of range.
Yeah.
And then people don't have to sit at a charging station for an hour of their life.
These lithium batteries that we see in all the fancy cars out here, Porsches, Lamborghinis, even regular modern cars, that was a sea change for batteries in cars. We had acid batteries before that. Now we got these lithium ion, and it's night and day difference from a performance standpoint. And I think that's what we're talking about here, a big significant change in technology to make the experience better of electric cars. And if they deliver on that promise, it could bring people into the market that says, I don't want to wait in the line for 2 hours to get my charge. If I can get it done in 20 minutes, maybe a solid state, they can swap them out.
And then you can go to the gas station, have a bathroom break, and or what do you mean? The electric gas station.
Well, yeah.
But people still call it a gas station.
Well, that's a good. It could be the potty stop. The electric
No, you
potty
get
stop.
you should have like a place where you could get like coffee, like a Starbucks, build like a
Yeah.
Starbucks at the charging station. If people sit for $20, 20 minutes.
How about the drive-through charging station where you move along, but somehow without connection it charges you up, and you go from you get your food here, you get your candy over there, you get your cappuccino over there. By the time you're done, you're all charged up, but you spend another $100 on shit that you don't need
Sure,
to
why
fatten
not?
you up. I think it's a good
Why
idea.
not? Let's go own one. SoCal
Hey,
Classic battery
I'm still
chargers.
confused about why the hell nobody has done a couple of things, right? The first thing as it relates to electric vehicles, and maybe these guys have figured out with solid state, why can't we go into a charging station and swap out the battery in 5 minutes? Put the car on
Aren't
the
the
lift.
batteries huge?
Put the car in the lift, drop the battery out, slide it to the side, and put it in the reverse. That's exactly what the propane people do. You ever go to the Home Depot, you just
Yeah,
give
but
them
don't
the
they
empty,
don't
you give
they
them the empty
embed
tank.
those? don't they embed those electric vehicles?
For safety reason, probably.
Yeah, well, they embed them right inside the car. So,
Sure.
I mean, it's probably hard to get to.
I know, but why not fix that? I mean, it would solve this problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think maybe that's probably what we're looking at. Maybe someday swapping them out, right?
Yeah, could be. Could be like you get like a NASCAR crew or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my one frustration.
Yeah, get it in, get it out.
Get it in, get it out.
Swap it out
Trade it.
like a cell phone battery.
Yeah, like 10 minutes. I don't see why not.
I look forward to the future of electric cars. I think that we're gonna see a lot of cool improvements. I think what's potential for the solid state, and that's what turned me on, was Stellantis was gonna put it in a Charger.
Yeah.
I think so, or one of the high performance Mopar cars.
Yeah.
And making those electric batteries at high performance and smaller weight.
Yeah.
That could be really cool for the future of racing.
Yeah, but that's my other frustration with electric cars. Who's got the answer on the noise? If we can't make engine sounds out of an electric car in a race, I don't want to watch it. I've got to have.
But do you think that people won't be
I gotta
excited
have the
about
noise.
racing if it's not loud?
Yes, there's no way. It's uninteresting. It's boring. We have to have racing sounds. So let's work on that technology. I don't know what the holdup there is either, but that's missing. Hey,
I don't know. I think it's for me. I mean, I don't know. The racing noise is whatever you can.
Oh, really? You were at
Yeah, I
the Long
can-
Beach. You were at the Long Beach Grand Prix just recently.
Yeah, it
right?
was.
What-
That
wasn't
was
there
that was a really loud place.
But isn't that awesome? The noise? Isn't that one of the key attractions to racing?
I think for the women it is.
What?
I think the women really like. They
that
really
a-
like that noise.
Is that a sexist comment?
No,
Jay?
it's not. No, I think that there's the women really like that noise, and
So there's
you know
sex
what? A lot
appeal.
of women are there. A lot of women were there for Mr. Pato Award, especially the Latina community, which my girlfriend is a part of. So
Okay.
yeah, well, they're all into that.
So you just validated my belief that
yeah.
the
So
noise is
maybe
important.
women won't be interested in racing if it's all electric vehicles.
Yeah,
Probably
no,
not.
I don't think they will be. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about the excitement of
So
a
what'd
car.
you think of Grand Prix and?
Oh, the Grand Prix was fun. It felt. I'm sure it's always been this way, but it felt really like a music festival for 3 days. So definitely get a lot of walking in. You
Buy a lot of merch.
Just buy a lot of merch. Spend a lot of money on overpriced food.
Scream and yell a
And
lot.
beverages, and sit outside with a bunch of different people, make some friends, see some people you run into.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a fantastic event. The 50th anniversary, actually.
That's right.
So that was really cool to be a part of history. But from what I was hearing, it was by far the busiest it has ever been. Even on Friday and Saturday, I remember I was watching the qualifying broadcast while I was watching the race. So I had my iPad with me and I was listening to the broadcast at the same time. And what they were saying is that they have never seen a Friday so busy that's day one. They've never seen day one or day two so busy for the Long Beach Grand Prix. And to my surprise, I was actually quite surprised at how many people were there. But then when I saw the quality of the entertainment or the show,
The venue.
not just the venue, but like
All the
you
different-
have so many different things. You have the historical races. You have the arena trucks.
Right.
You have the drag. What is not the drag races, but the drifting cars.
Drifting, yeah,
The
that's
drifting
awesome.
cars are huge. The drifting cars are so popular now in Long Beach that even if you have reserved seats, if you leave your seats by the time that the drifters start, you do not have access to those seats anymore. That's how
just come.
popular it is. People will just
Come
come
grab
to
your seat.
watch the 2 nights of drifting cars.
Wow.
And it's quite fun. I mean, you don't even know who's winning these things, but it's quite impressive to watch these people. It was really, really cool.
Well, you know what's cool about it for me is when I first came to Southern California in 3. And for the first 3 years, I volunteered at Long Beach Grand Prix every year.
Yeah, what year was that?
83, 84, 85, and then maybe 86.
Was those the Al Unser Jr. years?
That was Fittipaldi.
Or the
That was
Andretti.
Andretti.
Yeah.
Andretti won a bunch of races.
Okay.
But, call it the salad days or whatever. But it was great times for me as a new person to Southern California. And I felt Long Beach Grand Prix was such an integral part of what everybody does every year in April. And it's like going to the river. You went to the Long Beach Grand Prix, and then Memorial Day you went to the river. So I'm so happy to hear that format, the cart or whatever that format is doing so well.
Yeah,
The
it's quintessential SoCal car scene, is it not?
quintessential. Hey, but let's talk about, before we wrap, the car show scene. Hey, we went to that Hot Rods and Helos that was put together by our good friend Ken and all his cohorts like Patrick and Hack. I mean, they did a fabulous job. But Hot Rods and Helos, Jay, I'll tell you what, in Huntington Beach, what a great venue right there on the beach. What a great host Huntington Beach is. But man, I was blown away. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to sponsor this because, hey, my pals are putting this on.
Yep, shout out at Ken.
Wow. First
Mr.
show
Quarantine
just
Crows himself.
blew it out of the water. But I'm thinking Hot Rods.
Well, and it wasn't even, it didn't even live up to what it could have been because of the weather sucked that day. The weather wasn't that good that day. So can you imagine if we had like a nice day? It was still crowded.
Yeah,
it was still incredibly crowded, and for a show that was the first time.
Yeah.
Really excellent marketing by the whole team there.
It felt a little like a Coachella. Yeah, like one of those.
Kielcella? No?
Kielcella, yeah.
Kielcella felt a little like Coachella.
Coachella. But
I don't know about that, but
I was sitting there going, Helos, helicopters, cars. I wasn't understanding it. Then I got there, and the helicopters were so awesome. They were every bit as cool, and the paint on those things, and the design. I mean, I was as interested.
Well,
in
it was something new. It was cool to have those helicopters there. But what was cool about the cars, so it was a car show, and it had a lot of classic cars, but it was mostly resto mods.
Yeah, custom cars.
It was custom resto mods there. So you weren't just seeing like, you weren't seeing numbers matching.
No.
Just the normal car. You were seeing like a bunch of different people who had these incredible builds. I bet that show must have been so hard to judge. There was so many incredible builds that were there.
There were 2 cars adjacent to our booth, right? We had the Trans Am on one side, that 73 Trans Am, and we had that 67 Mustang carbon fiber on this side. I asked the guy, how much was the Mustang to build? He told me $700,000. That Trans Am.
That's just money.
But the Trans Am was probably another $400,000. So to your point, these are some of the finest custom build cars in America. And so it's great to see those cars come out. Hey, so what's our next opportunity to participate in something like this? What do we got on the docket? We're always sponsoring shows, right?
Our next show is going to be on May 31st at the San Clemente Classic Car Show.
Awesome.
I don't know where we're going to be on that, but we love San Clemente.
What a great town.
It's always good to just hang out downtown there. So
we love it.
San Clemente, it's going to be in the morning on, is that Saturday? Yeah,
I think it's a Saturday.
Saturday, May 31st. Come on out. Our new merch is actually going to make a debut there.
That's right.
So you need to be there just to buy the merch. So
and I think
mention this podcast. Actually, for all of our podcast listeners that go to the San Clemente Car Show, just mention that you heard this on the podcast, and we'll give you $5 off that new T-shirt.
That wasn't authorized, Jay, but okay. I'm gonna have to support
we'll give you $5 off that shirt if you mention this podcast. So just say, hey, I heard the podcast and you got some new merch, and we'll give you that for $5 off.
I think the other thing that we should do at that show is make sure the girls come out to see Kiel and review him on social media.
We need, the goal is to get Kiel a girlfriend. Right? So if you know anybody, bring them to the SoCal Classic booth.
But they could also talk social media with them, because I don't understand. So Kiel's done a great job of launching our TikTok page. It's up to what?
6,400 subscribers.
And it is a great venue. He's done a fantastic job. There's a lot of cool stuff out there, but he's also revitalized our other pages, right?
Yep, Instagram and YouTube. So you can just go to @SoCalClassic wherever you go on social media, except for X. So @SoCalClassic, SoCalClassic.
I think they know how to spell that.
Instagram. I don't know. You never know. You never know. It always helps to just let people know.
Yeah, but
So Insta, TikTok, YouTube. Check it out. You can also subscribe to our email newsletter if you just go to our site again, SoCalCarStorage.com. You can find so many different information and that about our business, about our merch, and about our media, and you can see the articles that we've written and mentioned here today. And keep out on the look. I'm starting to write more. I don't know. I got out of my writer's block, so I think I might have some more articles. I think one the article I'm working on right now is how Ford is positioned to win these tariffs. We talked about how Stellantis and General Motors are really put into some awkward positions because of how they transfer back and forth. So that's probably going to be the content of my next article. So go check it out. And go check out that article that I wrote about the BYD.
Hey, the other thing I want to mention is if you guys out there or guys and gals that are watching this have some ideas for social media or content that we should create for either Jay or I or Kiel, we'd love to hear from you. So let us know what you want to hear, what you want to see. Maybe we'll go somewhere we haven't been or do some things we haven't been doing. But we're open-minded, so let us know.
Just let us know. Let us know. Well, thank you so much again for stopping by here on the SoCal Car Scene podcast. I'm Jay Marash, and this is my father, Dean Marash, and we are going to sign out. So happy driving from the SoCal Car Scene.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you.